So episode 1 and 2 of Hazbin Hotel have finally released. This video will be a little different from my reviews on Helluva Boss. Instead of doing a synopsis like usual, I'll instead jump right into the things I liked and disliked. Since Hazbin is releasing in batches of 2, I'll cover episode 1 and 2 in this video, and then do episode 3 and 4 once they release on the 19th. The first segment will be in episode 1, and the second segment on episode 2, and then I'll finish up with some concluding thoughts. So, starting off with the things I liked in episode 1, the first thing in the episode is the intro cinematic. It finally gave us lore for Lucifer, Lilith and Adam. It set the ground for a bunch of fun theories, and it was also a reference to the one we had in the Hazbin pilot, where Adam and Lut were teased. It was nice to see future villains like Sarah teased as well. The animation has improved from the pilot. It is down to personal preference, and I do prefer the stylization of the pilot. However, it's undeniable that there's been a step up in quality. The shadows, contrast and colour palettes have all improved. In the pilot, the colours almost blended together, so I'm glad they finally resolved this in the full show. Broadly, I actually really like the new voice actors. There are a couple which I'm iffy about, which I'll discuss shortly, but I was pleasantly surprised at how good they all were. My personal favourites are Alistair, Angel and Vaggie. Plot-wise, it follows the same sort of A and B plot structure like in Helluva Boss. Charlie goes to deal with Adam and Lut, while Vaggie and the gang sort out the hotel's advertisement. It provided a nice contrast, and I didn't notice any tonal inconsistencies. We got to know the cast and solved 2 plot points in one. The songs were decent enough. We heard Happy Day in Hell early, and Adam's song was alright. They're not the most memorable, but they're good fun and are quite catchy. With the things I liked covered, it's time to get into the things I disliked. Unfortunately, I thought that the episode missed the mark in a lot of areas. The first being the dialogue. The dialogue ranged from mediocre to downright horrific. Adam being the worst example. His lines are absolutely atrocious. The show has an issue with overusing swearing, but Adam takes the cake. His dialogue is just constant swearing. It's literally that if such and such was written by Livesy Pop meme. I understand that the bit is that he's the first man and has a massive ego, but those lines were awful. He's just a carbon copy of Chaz from Helluva Boss. It's a shame as well because he is a great voice actor, it's just that he's written poorly. The pacing is way too fast. It's the same issue the pilot has, where it's trying to cover too many areas at once. It simultaneously felt like so much happened, and yet basically nothing happened at all. The meeting with Adam was hyped up from the pilot, however it flew in and felt inconsequential. The episode also immediately carries on from the pilot. This is fine for veteran fans, but if you're a new watcher, you'll have no clue what's going on. You'll have no idea who anyone is or what their motives are. It would have been expensive, but I feel like a remake or remaster of the pilot would have been a cool idea. We'd be able to compare and contrast the two, and it could be advertised alongside the show. So, new fans could watch the new pilot and then jump straight into the show. They've assumed that everyone watching has watched the pilot, which just isn't the case. It should have been made more accessible for a wider audience. Some of the voice actors are just complete downgrades from the pilot. The biggest offenders are Katie Killjoy, Tom Trench and Husk. Like I said a bit earlier, it's a person-by-person basis for these, but I think their pilot counterparts were just much better. Another issue inherited from the pilot is that the audio balancing is off. The music is too loud during segments and there's way too many sound effects. It confuses the viewer and makes it hard to concentrate and makes you feel like you're watching a Johnny Test episode. Charlie and Vaggie's relationship feels robotic. I just don't see as much chemistry as I'd hoped. We'll hopefully see more of this in later episodes. The comedic timing is also a bit off. There's parts where the joke could have landed, but it didn't because the timing was off, especially during the Happy Day in Hell song. There's already animation errors. One example being Vaggie despawning at the start of Charlie's song. This isn't a huge problem, but I'm not sure how this one slipped past. All it would have took was watching it back once or twice during production. So all in all, I'd give episode 1 a C. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it's on par with some of the weaker episodes of Helluva Boss. At least in my opinion, it started the series off on a rough note. Now on to episode 2. Starting off with my favourite thing, Vox and Alistair's song was the best so far. It's my favourite song out of both Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss. It's got the perfect mix of funny dialogue, catchy lyrics, and it helps to articulate the rivalry between the two characters. Vox's voice and personality is wonderful. He's easily the best character in the episode by a long shot. His voice reminds me of Patrick Bateman and I love how insecure he is. I had the biggest smile watching every scene he was in. I hope we get to see more of him because he's such an amazing character. I was so surprised as well because I didn't have any expectations for his voice prior to watching the episode. I'm glad they nailed his character. Sir Pentious being added to the hotel as the first sinner to try and get redeemed was a smart choice. If it was a random character, no one would care, but he's more likely to get redeemed than someone like Angel Dust. Sir Pentious' voice actor is great and he's especially cute when he speaks or does little motions. He's a very fun character and I prefer him a lot over his pilot version. His song with Charlie was decent enough as well. The pacing and story overall felt more solid than the first episode. It didn't feel as rushed and we got more development from the cast. And now, onto the bad things. Valentino's voice actor is awful. He has an inconsistent voice and he keeps switching accents. It's like he doesn't know if he's Spanish or American. One example is when he talks with Vox. He flips back and forth between Latino and American about 4 or 5 times. It's really disorientating and just takes you out of the scene completely. The phone call scene with Angel is another example. It feels like several different voice actors when it's just the same guy. No hate to the voice actor at all, but I feel like they missed the mark on Valentino's voice and the entire character is just weakened as a result. The voice doesn't fit the character either. Valentino is meant to be cocky and manipulative, but it doesn't come across that way with his dialogue. Originally, I thought Valentino would be the leader of the V's, especially with his presence in the Alec music video. However, that role has gone to Vox, it seems. I've seen people say that this voice is deliberately acted this way. He's meant to be sweet on the surface, but aggressive when he doesn't get what he wants. Like he has the Latin charm, but then suddenly gets violent. I can understand that this is an interesting concept, but I just think it fell flat in its face and didn't work out for Valentino's character. Velvet's voice actor is a miscast as well. The character is British for seemingly no reason, and it just doesn't fit her at all. If they went for a bratty, stuck-up influencer sort of voice, I think it would have fit the character. Instead, she sounds like she's out of the latest Wonka movie. The 3 V's were hyped up as the most important overlords, but after watching the episode, it's pretty clear that all the character development and personality went into Vox, while the other 2 were left undercooked. Vivzy has gone on the record in the Q&A livestream to say that they could make a Hazbin spin-off centering around the 3 V's. This could be an interesting idea, but I hope the characterization is improved before then. Otherwise, people will watch it purely for Vox and not really care about anyone else. So I'll be giving this episode an A. The only issues I had with it were some of the voices, but everything else was superb. So that's my review of episode 1 and 2 of Hazbin Hotel. I'll be revisiting these episodes in the future once the season ends, because I'll be doing a full video where I review and discuss each episode in depth. My thoughts might change then, like they did when I reviewed Helluva Boss. Overall, I think we're off to a decent start. Episode 1 was alright, but episode 2 knocked the ball out of the park. I'm really excited to see where the series goes from here. If you agree with my takes or have any of your own, I'd love for you to leave them in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching.